You don't know what the audience is going to be like. You don't know how you're going to perform, and you can't switch off nerves that are there. What I try and do is I make sure that I'm in control of as much as I can be. I'm afraid you're going to need a thick skin anyway, and I wasn't born with a thick skin either. The first time I was in a studio at 17, I remember, I made the producers turn around and face the wall. You would make sure you do your channels and get your music, get singing, get acting, and just upload it all. That's the viral things, is then where it ends up in the right hands, where they can maybe change your life, you know.
So we have a very special guest to give us some great advice and to learn about her life story. Evacuate the dance floor. It is Natalie Horler, aka the voice and the face of Cascada. How are you, Nat?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Well, I first want to talk about, I think a lot of people would be surprised that you grew up in Germany.
I did, yeah, I was born here.
How was that for, getting into performance and things like that?
To be fair, I think I've probably had an advantage being in Germany, because I was always, when I started out doing studio work and stuff, I was booked, not just because I had a good voice, obviously, so to speak, but it sounds so stupid, isn't it? But also because of my accent. I obviously, because I'm British, I sing accent free. If you want to find a singer in Germany who's not a native English speaker, they're going to have some little, bits in their voice where you can hear that they're not English. Yeah. And that does bother some people. Like me personally, I'm the same. I'm a little bit of a stickler for stuff like that, when you can hear someone not pronouncing a word properly the way it should be and stuff. So that was also something that made me quite popular amongst the producers and the DJs. Yeah. And that because I started out just being a voice for hire, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the UK has a very good reputation around the world. What we've found when we go to other countries is that the UK for performers just has an esteem of higher quality about it and things.
Well, I mean, obviously England's very famous for so many bands in the past and stuff. Yeah. But I always underestimated how much England loves dance music, and because obviously Germany's very famous for that. You always associate Germany with like techno and all that. But if you think about it, England is such an incredible country for dance music and up-tempo music. So that's always been nice for me to be able to travel to England.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, every town has a good club scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How did you get into the clubland arena? Because I think your dad was a jazz musician, wasn't he?
Yes, jazz musicians always stay jazz musicians. Yeah. but he is retired now. Yeah. No, I grew up with jazz, and I was listening to Mariah Carey and Boyz II Men and people. I had nothing to do with dance music when I was growing up, which isn't bad. When I got into my sort of school years, I loved to go to parties, and then my love for the electronic music definitely sort of came up. But I only really got into that type of music because of my job. So when I was doing studio work, it was mostly for dance music because my voice seemed to match that. And one day we sort of started recording the first tracks for Cascada as well. I think Bad Boy was one of the early ones, Miracle. And then they asked me whether I wanted to actually go on stage and, be a live act for this music, because it was getting quite a good feedback in the clubs and stuff. And so I actually had to think about that.
Really? So did you not have much
foot in the door?
Did you not have much experience on stage before that, or?
Not at all, no. Yeah. I used to sing in a cocktail bar on the side. Like I had a side job. What I used to do, I used to work behind the bar. I used to work in a closed sports shop. And then I used to, in the evenings, go to a cocktail bar and go and sing for an hour.
Yeah, that's the way though, isn't it? I think that's how a lot of people get into, performance and things. It's more that you do what you're passionate about, and then people start.
Totally, yeah. And I used to be very nervous. I was always very nervous. I still can be very nervous before certain gigs, but not say the typical ones. But if I got to do TV and stuff like that, then I do still get quite an adrenaline rush to do those things. And when they asked me to sort of become a live act for this music, I was really nervous about it, and I wasn't used to doing that sort of performance. I mean, that's something I really had to learn, is how to get stuck in and rile a crowd up.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of confidence, and I certainly didn't have that at the beginning. I really sort of had to learn that. I'm very, very lucky to still be on tour so regularly.
Yeah.
Normally.
You think you'll be nervous when you go back? Because I always find if I have a break from performing for a while, I'll get side stage nerves or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty certain I will be a little bit nervous when I get going again, but I must admit I'm not overly nervous, because I do know what I'm doing, and I'm gonna be jumping straight back into what I'm used to. So and I'm also quite confident that the audience is going to be really excited to see some live shows again. Definitely. Do you know what I mean? Like, we always said while this pandemic was sort of going on, I used to say to my mates and stuff, like, I reckon entertainment is going to be booming when we get going again, just because people are starved for entertainment, for concerts, for live performances of any kind. So I hope that'll be something that we'll feel on stage anyway, that people are sort of particularly grateful and thankful and enjoying it, because no matter how experienced you are, how many gigs you do, you'll always come to a concert somewhere where people are sort of like standing in the corner and they're like, too cool for school, and like, where you're just like, excuse me, I'm really giving my all up here. Pay attention.
Yeah, and that's the skill, isn't it? It's getting those people who are probably nervous to, get dancing and things on the dance floor. Yeah, get them out of the shell, and that's it. And that's what I suppose your type of music does as well. So what's the best gig that you've probably done? What was the most memorable gig?
Oh God, I do get asked this question quite a bit, and
really,
there's no real answer to it, because there's just been so many memorable ones, really. I mean, obviously the really big ones that stick out, they always stay in your mind, like Stockholm. I remember when Every Time We Touch was on #1, we were booked for this Energy in the Park in Stockholm, and it was like, that was, I think, to that day was my biggest audience, and it was like 25,000 people. And I remember, because Every Time We Touch was on #1 in that week I was there, I was like sort of the main person there, and so I remember everyone singing a cappella to the song, and that's something that stays with you forever, though, those memories, definitely. And I think the biggest live audience I've ever had was Queen's Day in Amsterdam, because it's Koningen Tag, isn't it? It's like everyone dresses in orange, oranje or something. Anyway, and that was apparently 500,000 people.
Wow.
So that was mad.
And you were the queen that day.
At the end of the day, you don't really see more than the first 10,000 in front of you, or 5,000. You know what I mean? Like, you can't really see a difference when it comes to a certain point, because there's just a sea of people.
Yeah.
But to be told that, it can make you a little bit nervous.
Oh yeah, I bet, definitely. I mean, it's not often that you meet people who perform in front of, say, 200 people. It's like, we always say, it's so important to get in front of an audience, because there's no substitute for it. You have to push the fire with that, haven't you?
Absolutely. I think that's why we've all been missing it.
Definitely. And it's great to see, just talking around with friends and things, I was really nervous at the start of this pandemic, where I thought it might be like, the world changes forever and you never see a theatre again. And, you're like, oh no, what if that happens? But you can just see people's behaviour. People want to get out. People want to have fun now.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a few things come up in the UK where they've been testing audiences in clubs and stuff with quite a few thousand people with no distancing and stuff. And it's just like, God, it really reminds you of 2 years ago, and that is actually, the reality of it, that it's coming back, so that's sort of the thing that tries to keep me motivated and positive about it, because I think we've all had our downs in this time, especially in our industry, because with many other people as well, but we have suffered the most because we've literally had our job forbidden, that's what they call it in Germany. This is Berufsverbot, meaning you're actually not allowed to do your job.
Yeah.
And that's been tough, you know, like I don't even want to compare to, say, those poor restaurants that are all going bankrupt, bless them, because they haven't been able to open and all this, but at least they've had their phases in between. But I always say we've been locked down since last March.
Yeah.
Like that is our lockdown, and we have not come back from that yet. So it is pretty intense, you know.
Yeah. Well, soon you'll be back to 90 to 100 gigs a year.
Oh God, probably not as many straight away, but well.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's touring life like? Because I think a lot of people have this idea of, you know, stardom and things, where they see the music video and they don't
glamour.
Yeah, they don't see the work behind that. And, you know, 100 different venues a year is very, you know, taxing, I suppose.
Yeah, it is. I mean, certainly I always make jokes about it, but what people don't realize is that it's pretty unglamorous, and even the places you travel to, you very rarely see any of it, you know. Like sometimes you're lucky that you sort of have an early flight, and then I'll venture out for a few hours and just have a look at the town. Or I'm not doing big sightseeing things. I love to go shopping. I love to go and find a sushi place and get me sushi, and I'll take that back to the hotel because I can't be asked with hotel food. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because you do it every week. And so, you know, like I think a few times we did these massive gigs in Budapest, and that's a fantastic place to be. So if we have a hotel in the middle, smack in the middle of town, that's the sort of thing that I really take advantage of. And I'll venture into town for a few hours and walk around, and I get to see these cities, you know. That's like a real fantastic advantage to this job. But all in all, it's a lot of traveling, and it's extremely tiring because not only sometimes, say, if we do a lot in Scandinavia, and sometimes you need 3 flights to get there.
Right.
Yeah, you know, like, and so then you arrive with very little time before you're even on stage, because we don't have time to travel day in beforehand. You know, like we arrive the day of the show. Yeah. So we get there, and it's literally a case of, right, quick room service, get some scran in, get myself ready, and then it's time to go off to the show. And then you often have early flights the next morning, and obviously because we do a lot of open airs and clubs, they're on in the evening or even late at night. So our night's sleep is very short. I mean, we're talking 3 hours, and you know, you're literally packing your sweaty stuff, you know, wet back in your case. Yeah. Because there's no time for it to dry, because you're just getting back on a plane the next day, you know. So that's sort of the norm.
Yeah, and I think that actually it's, in a way, it makes the shows even better to have that backstage energy of, you know, constant work, and as soon as you're on stage, you know, things change. You're on, exactly. And I think that's a similar theme through theatre, through you know, singing, through clubland, through everything.
Yeah.
For young performers, I think that's something that's a bit strange to learn, especially if you're a very, very organised person. It's quite hard to keep up with all the variables, you know. Yeah.
I mean, one thing my dad actually taught me is, he always said, try and embrace the adrenaline, try and embrace those nerves, because that's what's going to keep you sharp. That's what's going to make you do a good job. And I generally am one of these people that hate it. I really do. To this day, I can't stand the feeling of nerves. I get a stomach ache. I don't want to talk to anyone. Like, go away, you know. And obviously in my position, you do come to a gig somewhere and there's people backstage that while you've got your earpiece in already, and you're trying to sort of get yourself psyched up to go out on stage in front of 5,000 people or whatever, and they want to take a picture and they want to have a chat, and they don't really understand that you're in the zone, and you just, you know, you're feeling really electric in that moment, and I just need to sort of people just back off for just like a minute. And you know, you know me a little bit now, you've met me before, and you sort of know that I'm not an unfriendly, arrogant person.
I went straight in for the selfie, didn't I?
I know. I don't actually say to someone, piss off. Yeah. I'll just be like, sorry, I just, you know, not right now. I'll do it after the show. Like, I'll be like, I'm always really nice, but at the same time, you're just like, you know, sometimes that's why you say you have a manager who's the bad guy, because he will be the one to say, right, go away.
Yeah.
Because I'm the person that won't say it, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of people, when they get, you know, very successful like you've been, they can develop an ego, because what they're seeing is just new people every day.
Yeah.
And they probably start out being nice to those people, and it takes a certain discipline to continue to be, you know, I imagine. Anyway. So do you think, what other advice would you give to young performers? You said about, you know, nerves and things. Is there anything else?
Certainly that. I can only pass that down from my dad.
Yeah.
That he always said, you know, that even though I'm feeling really nervous, to actually somehow accept that that's a good thing. It's hard though, because you know, it falls off of you immediately when you've done the gig, or you're on stage, and those nerves just go away. But it's tough to sort of get there. Like, I used to be nervous like hours in advance. Now it's just gets shorter and shorter. But I'll sort of feel that when I'm just about to go on, you know, like my intro is running, or it's already running and I know I'm just about to come on, you know. Yeah. So that's not too bad. But that, you know, I used to sit at evening meal when I was on stage at, say, 11 at night, and I'd be sitting there at 7 and 8 o'clock having some food, and I'd be already really nervous at the table. Yeah. So I'm really pleased that doesn't happen anymore. But I don't know. No, when it comes to nerves, there's not much advice except that, really, to be honest. And I think the thing is, you don't have the control over. That's what it is, isn't it? You're out of control. You don't know what the audience is going to be like. You don't know how you're going to perform, and things like, and you can't switch off nerves that are there. So I think what I try and do is I make sure that I'm in control of as much as I can be. So that means make sure you're prepared for your show. Learn your lines. You know, make sure you've done all you can, because the rest is then up to fate anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
That's right. And what I found is that a lot of young people are very nervous about making mistakes on stage, because they know exactly, you know, the stage directions, what to do, the lines to say. But if you do, you know, fluff up on stage, a lot of the time, if you just go with it, the audience doesn't even notice, you know, and it makes the shows more exciting, you know.
God, I've literally dropped my microphone. I've fallen backwards off of a chair. Half the audience doesn't even see it. Like, I'm always shocked how little people really notice of these sort of things. And the things that we think about as performers are always the tiny things, like, oh, I said that line wrong, or I mean, especially I'm thinking theatre, it's quite easy anyway, because as long as it makes sense what you're saying, no one knows what the exact line was and written in your script. So that's not too bad. With the music, it's a little bit different, because obviously they know the tracks by heart. And so if you really muck up a line, they're sort of going to know. But at the same time, you mustn't forget, we're all in an atmosphere, and we're all, you know, enjoying the show, and no one's sitting there like in a lecture really quiet and paying attention to every little thing. And I don't know, what I've found is, because I'm the type of person that I normally even tell the audience about it and make it funny, because it happens. We're all human, you know. Like, I actually had, this is so embarrassing, this isn't like a typical mistake, but it's certainly something that went wrong on stage. I had these leggings on with a zip at the back of my bum. It went up the back. And while I was on stage, the zip just split. Now, normally no one would really notice, because you think, okay, you can get through it. And I was holding on to the back of my pants and singing with the mic in the front. But I noticed with time, even though I was like getting through it, I noticed I cannot carry on the show like that. This was like the second track. Right. And I had quite a bit to go. I had about a good half an hour on stage still. So I literally had to tell the audience what had happened, which is not the nicest thing to have to do. I just said, look, guys, I'm losing my pants here. I'm going to have to bear with me. I'm going to have to go off stage, which is terrible to have to leave the stage. Yeah. But I said, I'm going to have to leave you for 5 minutes and sort myself out, and then I'll come back and continue. And they were really nice about it. Like, even though it was a club atmosphere and stuff, but in the end,
I think people are afraid of getting booed, but I think what helps me is, whenever I perform, is the audience wants you to do well. You know, if they've come to watch the show, they know someone in it, or they bought a ticket to watch the show.
Of course they have. They don't want to steal rubbish. Well. Yeah. Totally, I agree.
Yeah. I agree. So probably just last few questions. What would you say was the breakthrough moment for you in terms of when you wanted to do this as a career, or when it was viable to do this as a career for you?
Well, those are two different answers to that, to be
I
fair.
mean,
I always wanted to be a singer since I was little. I mean, we're talking really young. I just wanted to. I was watching Singing in the Rain at 6 years old and just loved it, and I was singing it all the time. I even did tap dance lessons because I saw that. Gene Kelly made me do it, but and even at school, like, that continued. I was sitting in the lessons writing in this book and describing what my first music video would look like, and I was really focused on that. I loved it. And I took singing lessons when I was a teenager, and I was in the choir when I was young. I always knew I wanted to do it, but I wasn't 100% sure it was going to work out. Like, even my dad, who's just crazy successful with his music, and he was like an associate of the Royal Academy of Music in London and things like that. And yet he said to me, look, us musicians, it's tough, and it just because you want it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So he said, have a plan B, which I didn't. I always said, okay, I'd sort of dabbled in fashion. I loved that, and maybe thought of going to a fashion academy, or I even thought of going to a stage school. I even, went to look at one in Hamburg, I remember. But that was it, really. I just really wanted to try and go the normal route of what you read about back then. You can't do that now. But now you just go and find a job at a label somewhere and cook, make the coffee, and rub shoulders with everyone in the industry to sort of try and get in there. And that's sort of what I did. But that was nothing to do with the way it ended up working out. But that was certainly what I did with my time. As soon as I left school, I just tried to get in there somehow.
Nowadays people go to labels and things. Is that how people would break into the music industry these days?
No, I don't think so. I mean, things have definitely changed. I mean, when I was little, I used to see, I used to read stories about Mariah Carey recording a CD somewhere in a studio and paying a few $100s to do that, and then sending that demo to a music label, and it landing on a massive pile on someone's A&R's desk. And that was one of those, like fairy tales, that someone just found it and just happened to be your demo and put it in, and it's like, oh, and she's going to be a millionaire and a big star. That was sort of the way it worked back then. I think what was his name? Some famous producer ended up calling her while she was waiting tables, and called her on her and left a message on a voicemail, on a answering machine. That sort of thing doesn't really happen anymore. But saying that, we have other advantages now, or the kids do. They have the internet. That was not a tool back then that we could use, that we had. The fact is, look at Justin Bieber. Just because he was putting little videos on YouTube, that's the only reason Usher or whatever, someone else discovered him. And now he's like one of the biggest, artists in the world. So I think kids should take advantage of that. Get yourself heard, because it's only a matter of time that the right person's going to hear you, really. I think Ed Sheeran was on the street somewhere. It can go both ways, really. But obviously, that I think you need a lot more luck for that, because you're in one town centre. That's got to be the right person that maybe go shopping that day. But on the internet, you have a vast, broad spectrum of people that can maybe hear that. So I definitely would make sure you do your channels and get your music, get singing, get acting, and just upload it all. Because if certain people, that's the good thing, because people that enjoy it, normal people that enjoy it, they'll start spreading it too. They'll start sharing it, and that's how things go viral. And that's the viral things is then where it ends up in the right hands, where they can maybe change your life.
And I think what holds a lot of people back from uploading things themselves is what they think, people at school will think about them, or what their friends will think about them.
Then you're not in the right job anyway.
That's right.
I'm sorry, but if you're not that confident enough to see what other people think who are relevant to you, then your skin's not thick enough. I'm afraid you're going to need a thick skin anyway. And I wasn't born with a thick skin either. I had to grow into that and get one. But I think you got to be confident enough for that and not be too shy. The first time I was in a studio at 17, I remember, I made the producers turn around and face the wall. Seriously.
Really?
It's completely embarrassing thinking about it now.
Yeah.
Thankfully, they thought I was amazing. So, you know, it was this little girl that come in, and I'm really nervous because I've never come into a studio before. And I made them face the wall because I said, I can't sing if you're looking at me. So I started singing some Whitney Houston track just because they wanted to hear my voice.
Yeah.
And they were like really, you know, really pleased.
Oh, brilliant.
You imagine acting like that and then you're crap.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they'll just leave. There we go. No, but I totally agree. I think you're going to face negative comments. You're going to face negative, you know, rejection and things. But,
yeah,
you know, it's part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm afraid. I mean, I've always had two minds about all the casting shows out there, like all the X Factors and all that. I've been in the jury of the German Idol before anyway in the past, and it is tough to tell young people that they're not very good. So, you know, even just putting yourself out there to a big audience where they do these live auditions, I'm always a bit apprehensive when they're very young, because I think it can kill your confidence.
Yeah.
Or, you know, they'll do their first audition and the audience goes wild, and then they get chucked out the next round because someone else is better. And to then be able to continue and just have your friends and family say you're good, that's really tough. And so I don't think all youngsters can get through that. So you do have to sort of learn how to deal with that. But yeah, a long time for me too.
I think it's also, if you build up, you've got to build up your performance skills, because it's like you were saying, I think a lot of people have this general idea of, you know, making it in that it happens overnight very quickly. And you're endowed with these, you know, confidence abilities and things. I think you have to make mistakes on stage. You have to slowly build up to it. And I think you're right.
Well, that's right. I mean, everything you do, I think you mustn't put it off as not being worth it or too small or not important. Everything is experience, you know, and experience is the biggest thing you need. Like, I would say that's my biggest asset, is having so much experience,
right? Because
it means I've got the tools to deal with things that come at you, you know, because that's what it trains you, you know.
Yeah. Like when you drop the mic or something like that, something goes wrong, which naturally we don't want things to go wrong, but sometimes things do.
They do, they will.
That experience really helps you to realize, okay, the audience probably don't know yet. We can still make things, you know.
And the fact that you can still be really happy with the performance when you're done, even though that happened, because it didn't really matter and it didn't take away from your performance, you know, to not lose confidence. Yeah.
So finally, I know it's very still early in 2021. We've got May and things are different in Germany at the moment. So have you got what are your plans for 2021, 2022? Have you got any gigs?
Yeah, I mean, thank God the calendar has been full the whole time. Like that was never my worry, because we had so many gigs already planned. They were just moved back the whole time. Since March 2020, they've been just pushed back. They always push them back 6 months. And then it's like, oh no, sorry, no, still pandemic. So push it back again. Some things will push back straight from summer to summer, like this summer. And now things are looking up, you know. So hopefully in the UK, I've got definitely stuff going on. I've got some festivals there I've been booked for. And that's looking positive because of the whole, you know, 21st Freedom Day coming up, you know. We don't have a Freedom Day, but generally things are looking up everywhere. Scandinavia, we normally do perform quite a bit, and I've got some open airs that have apparently been confirmed now for August. So I'm going to be doing two gigs every Saturday in August, doing big open airs. They have a restriction of 5,000 people, and but that's good, you know. I'll take anything at this point.
Yeah, me too. I want to watch anything. I want to get out, you know. There's only so many beers you can drink at home, you know.
I know. I mean, here in Germany, they've only just opened the outdoor pubs and restaurants.
Oh, really?
And you have to have a negative test to sit there and stuff. So it's still quite strict over here. But, you know, this is private life. I'm not complaining. It's annoying, but my main priority is work. And I don't do that much in Germany anyway, only a certain amount. Generally, I work in many other places internationally. So if that's all opening up, I'm happy.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thanks very much for your time. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Cheers, Natalie.